With a major selection of the looks your kiddos love starting at just $4 in the Walmart app, a new school year means a stylish new them. Who knew? Find skater skirts and Crocs that say, I'm casual but cool. Sparkly sneakers that say, it's my classroom, you're just learning in it. And preppy polos that say, I'm the teacher's pet, even if they're mommy's menace at home. Find their favorite styles starting at just $4 in the app. The Walmart you thought you knew is now new.
The McDonald's Snack Wrap is back. You brought it back. Ranch Snack Wrap. Spicy Snack Wrap. You broke the internet for a snack. Snack Wrap is back. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
This is the Tudors Dynasty and Beyond podcast. History with a twist. And now your host, Rebecca Larson.
Hello and welcome back to Tudors Dynasty and Beyond. I'm your host, Rebecca Larson, and I'm so excited to welcome back to the show today, Dr. Peter Stiffell. Welcome back.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. I love coming back. It's great.
Well, I love having you on the show, whether it's with me or Dr. Emma. I feel like you have a wealth of knowledge that we haven't really tapped into yet, maybe.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm glad you know where it is.
I'm keeping track of it for you. Don't worry.
Oh, good.
Before we get into the day today, because we have some fun things to kind of talk about, but I want to talk about how you have a new website, which is exciting. Can you talk about your website, what the URL is, and what people can expect?
Yes, so it's drpeterstiffell.com. So it's a new website. It's basically promoting my research, telling everyone who I am. Like everyone knows, well, your viewers certainly know, I focus on Mary I. I look at all of her images, like portraits, coins, medals, basically anything with her face on it. So this website's sort of just somewhere where you guys can have a look at some of the images that we always discuss on Tudors Dynasty. And there's a couple of articles there, which we may go into later. A few simple things about Mary as a queen, Mary as a mother, and some other little bits that you might find interesting about portraiture and, how things were made and that sort of stuff. And also you can find other things I've been doing at the time. But yeah, it's basically just a gallery full of Mary images, which you guys have a look, and the images all free to look at. So yeah, enjoy.
Okay, so if there's somebody who is listening to this episode or watching this video and it's their first time ever being introduced to you, can you tell people a little bit about your background?
Yeah, so I did my bachelor's in history, medieval and early modern history in the University of Chichester, which is in East Sussex in England. I then did my master's and PhD in Canterbury, which is in Kent. That was done by Professor Kenneth Fincham and Dr. David Rundle. So I am a Tudor historian, art historian. People call me an art historian. I mean, I'm very humble, and I think, oh no, I don't know the ins and outs of, but I'm a Tudor art historian who focuses on Mary I, who was Henry's eldest daughter, daughter of Catherine of Aragon. So between 1553 and 1558 is my primary focus, but obviously, as a princess of England, she had images of her before she was queen. So there's, I go through basically all her life, 1516 to 1558, with the idea to move on to images of her after her death as well in the future.
It's funny that you mentioned the years that you really focus on with her, because it reminded me of my research with Thomas Seymour. Like, my super focus is probably on 1547 to 1549, but it also goes as far back as, say, early 1500s. I think sometimes people don't understand, even when you pick such a small gap of years, even if it's 1553 to 1558, how much research goes into just understanding that 5 years of time too.
Oh, it's incredible. I mean, when I first started my research, I thought, there's only going to be maybe 5 or 6 paintings of her. Because I mean, we all know the famous two, the one by Antonius More, which is in the Prado, and then the one by Hans Joerth, which is in London. And I thought, oh, there's those two, and there may be a couple of copies of that. But no, how wrong was I? um, I think in total there's around 300 images of her. Again, it's not just paintings; it's coins, medals, legal documents, and that sort of stuff. So, once you actually add up all of I mean, it's mostly legal documents, really, because and coins, because that's what the most people would have seen. Paintings were just for the aristocracy and for other rulers. So, how many people would actually see them? It's just difficult to answer. But, everyone had access to coins, and, if you're wealthy enough, you could buy a medal or something, or if you're in the legal world, then you're looking at legal documents and that sort of thing. And so each has its own sort of way of reaching the populace.
Mm. And on your website, you have a gallery too, that just before we started recording, I was kind of going through too, where you just have, it looks like every single image you've ever found of Mary.
Oh, this is just skimming the surface. Yeah, so the website will be updated monthly with new images as I'm allowed to use them due to various copyright laws and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, so it's a work in progress. I mean, it will never truly be over because obviously, I mean, I find new images every day, which I didn't realize, which just shows how popular her image really was. Because remember, she wasn't just Queen of England; she was Queen of Spain, Ireland, Spanish overseas territories. I mean, there's one painting of her in Peru. I've still not found that one. So if anyone knows of any painting which has her starred as Queen of Peru, please let either me or Rebecca know, because I think we'd all love to know where this painting is. It was last seen in Peru in the 1960s, and it apparently belonged to an English private collection. That's all we know. There's no images of it, no sort of descriptions of it. So
Wow. So we just know that there's a painting, but that's it.
we just know there's a painting of her. I think she was in a Chilean sort of outfit. But that's obviously we can't really judge because of that because we don't know what the person actually saw. But she's called, it's Maria Regina Chile. So Mary, Queen of Chile.
Interesting. Okay, and for those who, again, maybe this is their first time seeing you talk about Mary, why? Why did you pick Mary, right? That's always the question. Like people always ask me, why Thomas Seymour? But Mary really is probably the most maligned female figure from history. Why? Why did you choose her?
Yeah, I think she is actually, in terms of her English issue, certainly. It's a weird thing. I mean, I was always brought up with the tales of Bloody Mary this, Bloody Mary that, at school and university and that sort of thing. And I guess I've always sort of had is she actually as bad as everyone thinks she is? And then confession time. I did like the Tudors from Showtime. Yes, we know it's not historically accurate, but the one thing I will say is the way they treat Mary in the story is, I mean, it made me fall in love with her. It really did. Because a lot of people, we don't really talk about her childhood and early years as much. Well, we didn't back then. I mean, we do now. She's gaining popularity. We used to just focus on that short bit of her. Everyone always thinks she's running around burning people. She didn't. she did quite the opposite, actually. So yeah, I mean, I loved the portrayal in Becoming Elizabeth as well. That was a really good portrayal of her, actually. Yeah, and I've always just, once you watch those shows, you then read the actual history, and you think, I mean, it's a soap opera. It really is a soap opera, but it's real life. It actually happened. You're born a princess. You're the diamond of everyone's world. You're then suddenly stripped of everything. You have no legal status. You're nothing. Your mother's, exiled from your mother. You don't see your mother again. Your father's a brute.
Yeah.
You then have to deal with 5 other stepmothers. Some you liked, some you despised, to put it nicely. And you still you're just on eggshells the whole time while your father's alive. You then have a brother. Oh, thank goodness you've got a brother. Good. Right, that means now hopefully I've got some security. But your whole country's been torn apart because of your father and religion, and yeah, and then you're 37 and you finally become queen after your brother dies. And then no, you still can't have a peaceful life because you now got to marry because your father didn't think long term.
Hmm.
He was so concerned about having a son. He didn't think, oh, maybe I'll just marry my daughter off and have a grandson to inherit. Oh no, we can't do that. So you're at 37 and you're still not married. Right, okay, right, now I need to find someone to marry. Hang on a minute, there's no one available. They're either too old or too young. Okay, well, how do we deal with this?
Yeah.
Luckily, your cousin has a son. Okay, well, we'll have to marry him because he will become the most powerful man in the world. Well, that's a good alliance. Oh, no, we can't do that because he's Spanish. Well, it's
Yeah.
worked in the past. So she's battling all these idiotic men who have their own agendas. And then after 5 years and personal tragedy, she passes away knowing full well that everything she's done to return England back to the Catholic faith, back to what she thought is the truth, she knows it's going to be overturned by her half sister Elizabeth. And then Elizabeth takes all the glory for all the positive things that Mary started.
Yes. I feel like Mary just didn't have a chance to be able to do it probably the way that she wanted to do it all
Mm.
because it all came too late for her.
Exactly. I mean, she was 37, 38 when she became queen. I mean, we don't think anything of that age now, but back then you're middle-aged, if not old.
Yeah.
And there were so many things that she wanted to do and needed to do, but she just sadly just didn't have the time. And, events just took over. She had to deal with the religious situation, which was on its way to finalizing when she passed.
Mm.
And then, just other things like the French nipping at your heels all the time, wanting to have a fight. And then everyone moans when you actually do get into a fight with them. It's like, well, okay, so it's okay for your father to go and fight the French, but it's not okay for you to support your husband fighting the French. And they nearly won as well. That's the tragedy. They were so close at winning.
Oh.
But then sadly, obviously, Calais falls in 58. And it's just the beginning of a very bad year.
I didn't even know that they were that close to winning. I just know the
Yeah,
story
it
that
was,
they lost Calais.
Yeah, no, so they, I'm going to butcher the pronunciation of the place, St. Janskirsk. Anyway, around there. There were, if Philip had carried on, they may have been able to take Paris, but he
Wow.
didn't. Because, oh no, I've had my bit, I've had my fun, I'm done now. So, you're so close, so close.
He's like, sorry,
But
honey.
sadly, he just doesn't have. Yeah, sorry, I've run out of money, or
I'm
whatever
done
the reason
playing.
was.
I'm done playing with the boys.
Yeah, exactly. And then your wife has to pick up the pieces at home.
Yeah. Well, I feel like we've talked about this so many times on the show, but when it comes to religion in England at the time, what a confusing time to live. For those who were born during the early years of Henry VIII, they knew Catholicism and they knew it, let's say, for 20 some years before he decided to switch things up. And then his subjects were like, well, I guess we're reformers now.
Yeah, that's okay. Right. So what's changed? What can we do? What can't we do?
Yeah.
Because even though we always say Henry started the Reformation, he died a Catholic. He was a Catholic. He just didn't want the Pope in charge.
Yeah.
So there were times where it was as if nothing had changed. Oh wait, hang on a minute. We can't talk about saints. We can't talk about popes. Okay, right. Okay, so we're still Catholic. We're fine. We're fine. It's when he dies that's when it sort of really changes because Edward's brought up a Protestant.
Mhm.
He has Protestant advisors, Protestant council, and he's an extremist. A lot of people seem to forget that he killed over 10,000 people.
Wow. That's a lot of people.
15-year-old boy. This is a lot of people. I don't want to say the prayer book of rebellion because it's not just a prayer book. It's like a whole. It's more complicated than that, but for ease, we'll call it the prayer book of rebellion. Was it? I think 5,000, 6,000 people were executed for that. Oh, but he's fine. But it's Bloody Mary for going through the law and burning 283 people
Yeah. Well,
who were
they
given 3 or 4 chances. It's not okay. Okay.
see with Edward, they can use Somerset, his uncle, the good
Oh,
Duke,
definitely. Yeah.
as an excuse. They could be like, well, that
Mm.
wasn't Edward, that was his
No, it was the
uncle.
council. Yeah, it was him or
Yes.
Northumberland or whoever it was. You know,
Yes.
aside with Mary, the buck stops with her. There was no one really to blame apart from, well, we'll blame the Spanish, even though the Spanish didn't really have a lot of influence. I mean, there may have been closed door back deals, or we don't know. I'm sure Philip and Mary had conversations about these policies, but so did everyone. I mean, everyone was obviously, it's the whole council who agrees to this. Okay, your Queen wants you to do it, but we know Mary struggled with her council because they didn't always do what she wanted.
Hmm.
There's accounts of her having to shout at them, and then she starts crying because they won't listen to her.
Oh,
And thinking, and I think there's one occasion she says, if my father was still alive, none of you would be acting like this. I'm a Tudor. Just do what I want you to do. I think she was just very frustrated with the men around her.
well, she kind of inherited, I don't know if I want to call it a broken throne, but let's say, Henry VIII died. There's confusion with religion. Edward comes in. He's a boy king. What power does he have? What power doesn't he have? He suddenly dies. He decides to name her cousin as Queen Jane instead. So from the beginning, I feel like Mary's life has been this constant obstacle to becoming queen. Like, okay, well, my brother now takes precedence over me, so now I'm going to have to wait for him. Oh, well, now my brother named our cousin Jane queen, so now I have to deal with that. Like, it was one obstacle after another right away at the beginning for her, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
I mean, she never had a break. I think the only time she was ever happy was when she was very young with her parents, and then when she married Philip, because she thought, at last, I've got a husband, I'm pregnant, nothing can possibly go wrong.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, things didn't turn out that way. But, yeah, so twice in her life, she was probably happy. The rest of the time, she just has to deal with so much stupidness. I would use another word. I think we all know what it is. She just has to deal with it all the time, and she just doesn't get a break.
Yeah.
And then you've got your sister, causing trouble. Now, obviously, we can't prove anything, but in the camp where something. There was obviously some conversation, or not that we can prove it, but
Yeah.
she couldn't trust anyone. There was no one she could trust because they all were in it for themselves.
I'm going to throw you a curveball here. Okay. Are you ready for
Go
this
on.
one? I'm curious. Now, you say all this stuff about Mary, and it makes me realize what a tumultuous beginning that she had and how precarious it was. Can you think of another English monarch who had a similar beginning to their reign where it was just kind of all over the place and just trying to get control? Yeah, I know. I was just trying, as we were talking, I was just trying to think, like, was Richard the Second? I guess I don't know enough about Richard the Second, but
Yeah, I'm not a medievalist. I guess, yeah.
This episode is brought to you by Hyundai. Get into the Hyundai Getaway Sales Event and get away with a deal so right, it almost feels wrong. Because right now, you can save big on their most popular models, including SUVs like the Hyundai Santa Fe and Santa Fe Hybrid, and the all-electric Ioniq 5 and Ioniq 6. The Hyundai Getaway Sales Event. Visit HyundaiUSA.com. Offers end September 2nd, 2025.
Make your next move with American Express Business Platinum. Enjoy complimentary access to the American Express Global Lounge Collection. And with a welcome offer of 150,000 points after you spend $20,000 on purchases on the card within your first 3 months of membership, your business can soar to new heights. Terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/business-platinum. Amex Business Platinum. Built for business by American Express.
I got you, didn't I?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I wouldn't, no, 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 no. It's a good question, isn't it? I wouldn't say Richard II because he was an ass. He, he was a golden boy who just he couldn't understand. No, he didn't know what the word no meant. Um, so I wouldn't say him. I'd say Henry VI
Mm,
because your dad's such a legend, and I mean you're a baby, and you're not. You know, he was born out of his time. You know, if he'd been born either a century earlier or a century later, he would have been a good king. But you know, a king needs to make decisions. You can't just be
yeah.
indecisive and pray all the time. It's not going to work. You need to be active. Um, but I guess looking, forward, I mean, James II, really, because, and, his daughter Mary and William Orange, you know, you have Charles I's execution in 1649. You then have Playboy Charles II, who has no legitimate children. And, and it's a different world. It's a Protestant country. And you think, and the parliamentarians are thinking, hang on a minute, the next king's Catholic. And we know he's Catholic loud and proud. How do we deal with this? So it wasn't a broken throne as such, but it was sort of how do you bring back the dignity of the throne after this playboy king? And where it's a very tricky situation because you can't be like the old medieval kings or the Tudor kings and queens. There has to be that compromise. And unfortunately, James he didn't. He lost the game.
Yeah. Yeah, he did. That's a good comparison. I hadn't even considered James II as being similar in that way, but I'm glad that you brought him up because that's a good segue for the next thing that I want to talk
That's
to
what I
you.
thought.
You set this
I
up
thought, hang on a
perfect.
minute, how can I weave this in?
Okay, so as a Mary the First expert, I'm sure people approach you all the time with things that they find that they think might be related to Mary the First. And recently, so to speak, you found out about something that could have belonged to Mary the First. Why don't you talk about like how that all came about?
Yeah. So it was actually really weird because I did a talk in Peterborough Cathedral for Catherine of Aragon Festival at the beginning of the year. It just so happens that the day I was giving my talk on Mary, there was an object for sale. It was on auction, and which said apparently belonged to Mary. So obviously I was very intrigued by this. I thought, okay, I've got to have a look at this, see what this is. Anyway, like I say, I look at legal documents and in particular seals. So I think we're all quite familiar with the Great Seal, that big wax
Hmm.
seal, which is apart from lots of legal documents. But there's lots of different types of seals, which you can look at my website, and there's a whole range of them, for like different legal courts and whatnot. But monarchs had their own personal seal. It was sort of like it was a little like stamp saying "I approve," but it was for very personal things or things directly related to them. Anyway, so this seal comes up on sale, and it's a signet seal, or a signet stamp. And this is sort of the epitome of royal power. It's a tiny little thing, and it's literally when the king or queen stamps the document saying, "Yes, I approve this, I approve this." But it's also used for maybe some letters and whatnot. And they would have had more than one version of this, maybe depending on who they're writing to or what the level of security is. Anyway, so this seal turns up, and I look at it, I think, okay, I can see why they think it's Mary's because it's got a big M and an R on it. Well, that's a good sign. Anyway, so I look at the coat of arms. I think, now there's something not right here because it's not Mary's coat of arms. Anyway, doing a bit of research and asking a few people who are more experts in heraldry than I am, and I've got to thank Mel Taylor for this because she was brilliant as always. Anyway, it turns out it wasn't my Mary, but it was Queen Mary II, who was the daughter of James II, so the granddaughter of Charles I,
Yes.
who married William Orange. So yeah, so it's a tiny seal, and it belonged to her. And I thought, oh my word, what if I just won?
Okay.
It's
So you have it there. I'll put up an image too, but can you just show everybody how
yeah. So
tiny it is? Like, it
this is how
is,
tiny it is, everyone. I mean, it's the
yeah,
size of a fingernail.
it is
It was
tiny.
so it's made of rock crystal, and it's got a gold top on, and it's got a few like olive branches around the gold, and then you have MR with the crown above the coat of arms, which is the usual thing. I mean, I know you guys won't be able to see it properly, but we
Yeah.
will put images up. But it's
Yeah.
just to show how tiny this object is, but how powerful this is. It's this the last person to hold that was a Queen of England. It's like,
Right.
you know, it just it's extraordinary. But what's even more remarkable is that it survives. Not just because of its size, but these sort of things were meant to be destroyed after the monarch dies.
Mhm.
So the fact that this survived, well, it then starts posing questions. Well, how does it survive? Why does it survive? Who stole it,
Yeah.
borrowed it, took it as a keepsake? So you think, well, maybe one of her ladies in waiting. Maybe it was the king.
So
Because obviously, sorry.
did this come with any provenance for you to be able to, or was this just a
Yes.
clear
So
slate?
no, 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 no. So it did come with some provenance. So it belonged to a gentleman, well, a family whose ancestor was a courtier for George V and George VI.
Okay.
So, I mean, we don't know how he got it or where he got it from, but he was obviously in those circles. Now, maybe he was given it or he bought it from the royal collection, maybe, or maybe they, but he's in those circles, so he knows royalty. But it's a mystery. It's a mystery where he got it from or when he got it from. Um, yeah, it's remarkable. It's just been in the family's collection ever since until I took it this year.
I imagine like she passed away, one of her servants swiped it, stuck it in their pocket, and it stayed in their
Yeah,
family. Somehow ended back up with a royal family.
yeah.
Fascinating.
That's what I think. That's what I think. I mean, because one of those things, they probably didn't even notice it's gone because I went looking for like some letters. Maybe it was on the letters and that lot, because this stamp still has some wax on it.
What?
Yeah,
That's cool.
because people keep saying, "Oh, why don't you stamp on it? Stamp on it." It's like no, because it's got Stuart wax on it. I'm not touching.
Yeah, yeah. It's got history in it.
Yeah, so it's yeah. So from what I saw, you know, I think Mary had quite a few signet stamps for various letters because I mean, you can lose these things.
Yeah.
It was obviously attached to a chain of some sorts. Um, but yeah, I mean, she may have just put it in a box, and when she died, someone just took it. Maybe it's for their own security or their own
Yeah.
interests. Because William wasn't always, William was quite a controversial king, because obviously it was a dual monarchy. So Mary really was the queen, um, but William sort of not took over, but it was a joint partnership, which I mean it's very. I just couldn't read the similarities between William and Mary and Philip. Both called Mary. They're both the true Queen of England.
Yeah.
Their husband's king. They're both dual monarchies. They're both from the same area. It's just,
Yeah.
and they both only ruled for 5 years.
Oh, I didn't realize that too.
Yeah.
Wow.
So Mary ruled 1689 to 1794. So again, it's 5 years exactly, and it's just one of those deja vu moments in history. I think it's just so strange, but they were obviously completely different in religion, complete opposites. But
I keep thinking about this signet. That's what I'm going to call it. This little,
yeah,
I don't, I think of signet rings, right? Where they would
well,
use the
exactly.
ring.
That's what I was
Same.
expecting, sort of a signet ring thing.
Yeah.
But this is So it is a signet, but it's a signet stamp, because it's a proper
Yeah.
stamp thing.
But it's so tiny. And I don't know enough about signets, but is
Mm.
it possible that one that's tiny like that was like a travel one?
I mean, it may well have been. I think it was more of just a day-to-day one.
Okay.
Because it's 4 letters, and letters don't need a big, massive thing to. You just stamp a bit of wax on.
Yeah.
Because I did measure it compared to her other signet stamps, which are the wax seals, which are still surviving, and it does match. So yeah, it's just literally like I guess it's a well, it's instead of signing your name. So when
Yeah.
people when people used to write letters, you have your little ink pot and you just scribble your name on, send it off to your courier. It was just the same thing. You just had your little wax stamp it on, off you go. So, but yeah, I mean, it's a remarkable little survival. I mean, and these things just pop up. So I always say, if you're interested in history, if you can afford to, go onto auction sites and just have a look, even if you just have a browse and join the fun. It's so strange and honourable, actually, and humbling to own a bit of history.
Oh my gosh, what I would not give to own like a Seymour signet ring. That would be,
Oh, that'd be nice, wouldn't it? If any
I,
survived.
I don't know. There's an image of one that I've seen online, but I don't know if the ring itself still exists, but I think it's
Mm,
so cool. I think that would be,
yeah.
why don't we still use them today? Wouldn't that be much better
Well,
for,
look, I mean, I've always been tempted. Why don't we just do it? We'll start it. You and I, Rebecca, will
yeah,
start
we're,
the fashion.
we're going to go back to handwriting letters and
Yeah,
using wax.
exactly.
Maybe we won't go so far as using vellum because that's a little strange, but we can just use regular paper, right?
Oh, yeah, just use paper. Yeah, I mean, they use paper. Then, got to get the nice paper, though, not the cheap Chinese stuff.
The signet is so cool. It's amazing that it landed right in your hands.
Yeah, it's just incredible. And it would have been part of jewelry on that. So, I mean, my future task is sort of to start looking at Mary II's portraits and imagery and see, right, can I see it on there? Can I see it on? Because I mean, that would be incredible because it attached to the girdle. So
Yeah.
you never know when she might have to go and sign something or something. So, I mean, she may have just lost the thing,
Hmm.
and someone picks it up and just didn't tell her.
They're like cleaning the palace one day and they're like, huh, what's this?
Yeah, well, it may have been under the drawers or under wherever, under the bed. We don't, it's just, I'd love to know where it was and who found it.
I feel like this is a fiction book somebody needs to write too.
That's your task.
No. That is not my task. I do not do fiction well. I have tried. This piece is so cool. And I'm going to include a link to your website too, of course, where people can look at it. And it's so cool. It's such that you can see the details more in the pictures.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, go on my website, and I've written a small little article about it, how it was, mistaken identity and that sort of stuff, and giving you a bit more details of the dimensions of it, what it looks like, and just a bit of history about Mary II as well, because she's a fascinating woman.
Yeah.
She loved God, she loved horticultural, very intelligent, and it's just strange that I just ended up with both of our Queen Marys.
I feel like this is a sign, Peter. Like Mary, you are going to be the expert on the Marys. Now I see the
Yeah.
enthusiasm that you have for Mary II and this piece of history that you own of hers. What better way to get started on a new passion?
Well, yeah, I mean, so the future of the website it's called Royal Iconography because I don't obviously want to just focus on Mary. Obviously, Mary is always going to be the prime focus, but eventually I do want to start going into images of the other kings and queens, and maybe I'll start looking at Mary II as a sort of halfway into that, and eventually, in many years to come, you'll have a website full of images of as many kings and queens that I can do. I'll probably just start the Tudors because the Plantagenets don't really have. I mean, there's loads of like legal documents, but they're all very like stick figures. So
Yeah, right. The art is not
yeah,
quite the
you
same.
want to see the real person.
I'm excited to see where this goes for you because, of course, I love women in history and learning more about these amazing women and how they were more powerful than we ever thought they could have been, but they also had their own challenges along the way. And of course, I want to talk about Mary the First a little bit more. And I know you're doing research on her right now, so I don't want to have you reveal all of your research, but can you talk a little because on previous episodes you have mentioned, and today you mentioned Mary being pregnant, and that has always been the big question mark hanging over Mary the First. Was she or wasn't she pregnant, right? I don't know. There's so much focus put on whether or not she had a phantom pregnancy or it was a real pregnancy. I want you to touch on that
Yeah,
whole
I'll
thing.
tease you. I'll tease you out.
Yeah.
So yes, so there will be an article coming out later in the year where I reveal all. Let's put it that way. It will, from someone who's looked at it, they said it's going to blow the history out of the water. Um, yes. So how can I tease you without revealing all?
I don't think you can.
Let's just say a lot of people use a particular source to discuss whether or not she was or wasn't she.
Okay.
And they look at the response this particular author writes, but everyone seems to have only focused on the first half of the sentence.
Oh.
No one's actually read the second half of the sentence. So it's staring you right in the face. So obviously, the first half says, it doesn't say phantom as such, but it says, she not imagined it, but she thought she was, but she wasn't. Or she had the symptoms of an illness or something. But they didn't read the second half of it, which I won't tell you about. You'll have to. I've given you enough clues that if you know your Tudor history, you should be able to work out who I'm talking about.
I thought
and
if
you can
I
look at it yourself.
I thought if I stayed quiet enough, maybe you would just say it.
Nah, I can't. I couldn't ruin the surprise.
No, I don't want you to ruin the surprise.
Yeah. So the articles, it will hopefully be coming out this year. And yeah, I mean, it was really interesting to read about and to research actually, because I'm not a medical doctor or anything like that, but actually, two medical people, one nurse and one midwife, on separate occasions have come up to me because we've spoken about the pregnancy before on previous episodes, and they've both come up to me and they both said the same thing to me of what they think happened.
Mm.
And I said, "Oh, that's really interesting because someone else just told me that." And I obviously had my own theory, and it's all the same theory. But yes, no, you'll have to invite me back before I tell you.
Oh, I definitely will because we're gonna have to find out what the big reveal is on this.
Yeah, it's yeah. I mean, it's no, I can't say anymore because otherwise it will ruin the surprise.
I feel like Mary tried so hard to keep the Tudor dynasty going. I mean, she really did. And then
Yeah, I mean,
and then her sister came around and was like, whatever.
no, whatever. And I mean, it just shows the two different characters. Because Mary, I don't think she ever thought about herself. Not once. I mean, maybe she's a little kid. She maybe did, or she always fought. She fought for her mother. She then had to fight for her father. She then had to fight for her country, fight for her faith. She she never thought about herself. She thought, well, hang on a minute. I'm not having Jane Grey become queen. Hang on a minute. It's my crown. The people want me because I am the legitimate heir. Always have been. then when she married Philip, well, okay, right now we've got to look after the Spanish interests as well. And plus, again, then it's the church. You've got to look after Pole and
Yeah.
please the Pope. I don't think, no, and like I've said in other podcasts, she went and visited the poor. And she didn't make a big song and dance about it. She did it all in disguise. And it's only later people realised who they'd actually spoken to. Whereas Elizabeth, these big progresses. And, she makes everyone know that she's the queen. So, give me your house, give me your
Yeah, yeah.
But Mary never had any progresses. And people have criticised her for that, said, oh, she should have gone and seen the people more. Well, one, she knew the country couldn't afford it. And two, well, she didn't need to because everyone knew who she was. And she went and visited people. She did go and meet her people. She just did it in disguise. Obviously, you had like the big ceremony events, like when she marched down from Framlingham to London. And then, when she went and saw Philip at Winchester and, the travels back there. And then when he left for Spain, she again went with him. So, she did have progresses. It just wasn't the annual summer one. I mean, maybe if she'd ruled longer, maybe she may have. We just don't know, But she was very always conscious about the economics of everything.
Yeah. She
Even
kind
though
of
she did spent a fortune.
is it fair to say that she inherited an unstable throne?
Yes, definitely. I mean, after everything her father and brother did, and I've, like I said, as I mentioned this before, but the currency was debunked. It was worthless, absolutely worthless. And one of her first proclamations was to reinstate the coinage, bring it back to the quality it should have been. Which I mean, hopefully people appreciated that. It just, obviously, these things take time to collect all the bad stuff, remint things at the right purity, and then send it back so there's no inflation. And obviously, the results of that were Elizabeth's.
Yeah.
And she says, "Oh, thank you very much. Yes, it was me. It was me. It was me." So, well, no, it wasn't actually.
Yeah.
All right, you helped you helped it along, but you didn't start it.
Yeah. I feel like some of that was started during the reign of Edward VI, but it was thwarted a little bit.
I think they suddenly realised, oh, hang on, we need to do something.
Yeah.
They tried to do it, but they ended up doing the complete opposite.
Yeah. I feel like nobody listened to them when they were like, okay, we want to bring the coinage back to a good standard. And they were like, no, that's fine. We're good.
No, we can't afford it. We can't afford it. Well, yeah, we just have to tighten the belt a bit, don't we? Come on. He's a 15-year-old boy. Like, it's not, surely he can't be spending that much money.
Surely he can't. He's begging his Uncle Thomas for money.
Yeah. So what's he spending it on?
Right. There's so much
you don't
more.
have a family. You don't.
Yeah.
What are you doing? At least Mary had an excuse. She liked her clothes and she liked her jewels.
Yeah.
I don't think she bought any jewels. People just gave them to her. But I mean, there was one occasion where the Privy Council had to talk to King Philip, and said, "Your Majesty, you sort of need to talk to the Queen for us because she spent a stupid amount of money on clothes."
Oh no.
But she's a woman. She likes her fashion,
Yeah, her dad loved his fashion too, didn't he?
Yeah, it's but you have to dress to impress.
Right.
You're the monarch. You can't go around in yesterday's clothes because that's just not the done thing. And they gave away so much. Thursday, she used to give away the gown during the washing of the feet ceremony and all that sort of stuff. It's these things cost money.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh. Peter, okay, so this has been a lot of fun chatting with you today, but I do want to touch base on how you went to London this week and got to see Dr. Emma and her medal and coin exhibit at the British Museum. And there is at least one of Mary the First in there, isn't there?
Yes, there is. I was very happy. I mean, it's one of those things. I mean, I have been to the British Museum before, and I have seen some of the Mary medals, but I've never seen them up close, because obviously, they're normally in big cabinets and it's also. Yeah, so I went last Thursday, met up with Emma, and yeah, I mean, there was a Mary medal there, and I was very happy to see it. It was by Jacopo di Trezzo. You can find his medal on my website.
Ooh.
I didn't realise how big they were. I mean, I've seen medals before at the British Museum, but normally they're in glass cabinets, and Elizabeth's normally next door to it, so you can't really see everything because all the tourists are, oh, Elizabeth. Um, yeah, so there's a couple of medals there. Well, a few. Well, there's a few medals there. There's ones of Isabel and Ferdinand. Well, it's a coin of Isabel and Ferdinand. You've got Maximilian. Um, obviously Mary. Um, and you got Henry VIII and the Most Happy Medal. And I think Emma will let me say this, but it's from what we know, it's the first time in recent history or in memory that the Henry and Anne medal have been put together. So it'd be, it's very interesting for anyone interested in all of that era. Oh, let's actually look at because everyone always sees the Most Happy medal. We all know what that looks like.
Yeah.
But I mean, I didn't realise the Henry one had been made as well. So it's nice to see. Oh, okay. Well, it was a sort of a joint package, I guess. But yeah, the Mary medal was obviously the one I was sort of looking at the most. And yeah, I mean, just the detail and it's the survival. It's incredible how detailed and intricate it is. It's in bronze, and it's by Jacopo di Trezzo, who was a medalist, part of Philip's court, and there's a lot of debate whether or not he actually came to England or he didn't come to England. I'm in the camp where he did come to England, because you can't get that much detail without meeting the person, right?
Mm.
A lot of people say, "Oh, it's just after Antonius Moore's portrait." Well, no, because Mary's facing sideways. She's not. Yes, she's wearing a similar outfit, but that's the fashion. Of course, she's going to wear a similar outfit, isn't she? I mean, was it done at the same time as the war? Were they both there at the time? To save time and money. I don't know. So I normally say de Trezzo's image is his own image because it's a side profile, and it doesn't look like Moore's, apart from the outfit. But like I said, I mean, it's like taking a photograph on two separate days with the same outfit on. Well, you can't say it's the same,
Yeah.
But yeah, no. If anyone can go to London, see Emma's wonderful display, take a look. But yeah, no, it's really good.
Ooh.
It's always nice to go to the British Museum. So
Yeah, you know what? I didn't get to go there the last time I visited. So the next visit, I will definitely
next time, definitely, we'll all go.
That's right. And one of the things I am curious about, you study the iconography of Mary the First, but you've been also labeled an art historian, as you won't say by yourself, but by others. What is it about these visual images that just draw you in?
I think you can actually connect. You can put a face to a name and to an event. You can, I mean, some of the portraits, it's like they're standing right next to you, and you sort of feel that connection. And then with the art historian head on, you sort of then go into deeper, look at the symbolism, look how the paint's been, well, how it's been done. Look at the pigments, look at the strokes. It's so intricate. I mean, I don't know how these people did it. It's I have a lot of time for artists because their talent's incredible. To get so lifelike with paint, it's like a photograph with some of these paintings. It really is, and I've got to thank the Netherlandish artists for this because Antonius Moore, and he was a genius. He really was. Holbein as well. It's like they're sitting right next to you, and you then start thinking, you start putting voices on. I mean, I don't know if that's just me. I thought, well, hang on, what did you sound like? How can I? But yeah, because I sort of had this eureka moment last week because I don't know why I was thinking about Mary. I just always end up thinking about her, but I was looking at how she spells her name, and I think we've always sort of mispronounced it a little bit because it's Mayri. So if it's spelt how you pronounce it, she called herself Mary
Was it an
or
accent?
Mary. Yeah, so, and we know she had a deep voice. So is
Yeah.
it Mary? Is it?
Let's hope it wasn't like that.
Oh, I hope not. No, obviously, like, more dignified than that. But I think she had a deep, dignified voice. She's someone who you would, if she spoke to you, you would listen.
Like a Lucy
Yeah,
Worsley deep voice.
maybe. I mean, I guess. So, have you seen the Jane Grey film with Jane Leperton? I
Yeah.
think that voice.
Okay.
That's the voice. I mean, that's the Mary I see when I think of her as Queen. So, yeah, that's someone who's dignified, knows who she is, and you will. It's like school headmistress. You will listen to what she has to say.
Yeah.
But a kind one, yeah. She's very a kind headmistress. She wasn't the brute that everyone says she was.
I think it's interesting. We all love looking at pretty images or looking at any antiques that we can find. And there's such a difference between studying art and studying documents, but also
Mm,
a lot of similarities, right? Because in the documents, we look at words to find the meaning behind
mm,
something, and in images, we look for symbols.
mm.
It's
Yeah, and it's always quite nice when you're reading the written documents or like an inventory, and you think, "Oh, hang on a minute, I know what that looks like," and then
yes.
you can match it up, and it's incredible. I wish there was more survival of jewels in that because I mean the descriptions of the jewels are fantastic, and it would answer so many questions if they survived. But sadly, you can't always rely on the descriptions with the surviving things because has it been changed? Has it been altered? Is it a completely different jewel altogether? Why have you described it like this? Because it's not like that at all. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing with history,
Mhm.
But things just pop up. They pop up all the time. There may be some fantastical, historical, significant thing. It's just in someone's attic,
Yeah. It's
and
just
they
hiding.
have
And
no idea. They just hide in plain sight.
yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, Dr. Peter Stiffell, this has been such a pleasure having you on the show again today to talk about Mary the First, Mary the Second, iconography, a little bit of everything. But I really enjoy having you on the show because we just never know where the conversation might go. And I feel like if you have any information for Peter that you think might be useful in any of his research, if you found any images, please let him know. Check out his website, drpeterstiffel.com. I'll include the links in the show notes as well. Peter, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. It's always a pleasure.
Thanks for listening to Tudors, Dynasty, and Beyond. If you enjoyed the episode, please take a moment to follow or subscribe wherever you're listening so you never miss a new release. And if you loved it, leave a quick review. It helps more history lovers find the show. Want to support the podcast and get bonus content? Head to patreon.com/tutorsdynasty. You can also find the link in the show notes of this episode. Join the conversation with Rebecca on social media at Tutors Dynasty. Until next time.